uh, in terms of the campaign, in terms of the general notion around normalizing food females in football, and absolutely, it is very true. What do you think the future holds in general about females in football?
Well, um, as I've seen, obviously, and as I've said before, it's just getting bigger and bigger, and there's just so many positives come in from it. Don't get me wrong, there's always some people who are negative about it. There's always some sort of person who isn't happy. But to tell you the truth, it's always been on social media, and it tends to be someone hiding behind an account which doesn't have their profile picture on, which is just a random one. So don't get me wrong, I get a lot of support, but you get the negative people, but I don't kind of let that bother me. But her game too in general, it's just going from strength to strength. And as I mentioned, and as we mentioned before, Liverpool have joined. It's several sports it's going into now. It's just going massive. We celebrated our 2-year anniversary in May as well, which is fantastic. And I feel like even though it's only been 2 years, it's kind of, we've done a lot in those 2 years. So it's mental to think what we could do in another 2 years. It's just so surreal. But just as a whole, and just for me, what I want to do is just kind of create a safe space for females, and not just females, for males as well, who just want to talk football, who just want to have general chat, who just want to, like, that's what my Twitter's about and stuff. I just like talking about football, whether it be non-league football, whether it be Premier League, whether it be international. I just absolutely love football as a whole, and I think it's something we should all celebrate and come together, because it's something, no matter, like I said before, no matter where we live, no matter what background we're from, whether you're upper class, whether obviously you work, whether you don't work, just anything in general, we're all allowed to like football. And it's just a fantastic thing to come together about. And yeah, I just love football.
Yeah, and
it's just great, isn't it? Just love football.
That's definitely something that we have been able to figure out, and that's obviously the reason why all three of us are here in this call. And now that we have already spoken so much about the campaign, about why you do the things that you do, you at the beginning, you mentioned about how you don't follow a lot of the WSL and other women's competitions, but the women's World Cup is coming up in the next 50 days. So are you following a bit of the build up? Is there any excitement around it, or what's the general scene like?
To be honest, this season I've really started watching the WSL this season in particular, and as much as obviously I'm a Rochdale fan, my WSL team, I love the Manchester United one. I think Ella Toone is absolute class. I watched the final as well against Chelsea, and I was watching some of the talents then, and I just think some of them are exceptional. But the World Cup, I've just got to support England, and just so many positives from them in obviously the Euros, and just watching some of the players throughout the WSL league this season. There's some fantastic talents, and as much as we've got some injuries as well, obviously Beth Mead's injured. There's quite a few. Leah Williamson as well, our captain. There's quite a few injuries, but I think the squad that we've got is quite strong. So I think we can do something special in them. I really do.
Yeah, I'll be very honest. I and Anukash are nodding in agreement as if we follow every single word, but we don't follow every. I mean, I'll be honest. I haven't watched a single WSL game. I mentioned this because, of course, in India, when it comes to women's sports in general, I don't think WSL is aired anywhere, and apart from
Yeah.
a few, YouTube streams here and there that I definitely have not seen ever. But Anukar sir, now that we at the very beginning of this episode we mentioned about how the women's Euros last year definitely left an indelible mark on us, and the women's World Cup coming up is also something that we should be excited, not only because we are running this podcast, but also because, of course, a World Cup is a World Cup.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Before I answer the question, sorry to not be on the same page, but I thought we are nodding because we both were disappointed because Bethmate is not playing.
Yeah, exactly. I just lost Charlotte after she said
Yeah,
that Bethmead is not playing.
yeah, I was disappointed, downtrodden, all synonyms of that. But yeah, of course, Joe Savard, definitely, man, after what happened in the Euros, I definitely am looking forward to this, and this time I'm going to follow it from the group stage because last time also, I think the women's football, the gameplay is a lot more open as much as I have
Mm,
watched it, and I really enjoy it honestly because I think. Sometimes, with all due respect, in the men's football matches, sometimes the matches can get, a lot of time wasting, a lot of tackling, and sometimes the game just doesn't run at times,
Just
there are a
drifts
lot of
apart,
interruptions.
right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But I really like, the game in women's football is a lot more smooth. The attacks are much more slick. And some of the attacks, like some of the goals, those back heels, there's a lot of those intricate gameplay involved, and I love watching that. And honestly, that is something I'm looking forward to. And as an Indian football fan, also, I hope that at some point, Charlotte, we had Indian footballer Manisha Kalyan sometime back on the show. She became the first Indian footballer to score a goal against Brazil of any, sort of gender, men or women for that matter. So, we hope to see India as a country in the World Cup also at some point. But for now, of course, I think I myself would be supporting England, and just because I saw them play around the last time around, and I was bamboozled.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, we were absolutely knocked out of the park in that, to the truest meaning
Totally,
of the
man.
term. And Charlotte, in this half an hour, in just in case you had not noticed, we kept on nudging Indian football references here and there, just for us to probably ask you before we conclude this wonderful conversation that we have had, that about Indian football, India in football, football in India. What's the general sentiment of people? Or you can just be honest and say we never thought about India in football.
Honestly, to be honest, I'm obviously not familiar, with the football
Yeah.
in India and stuff. But obviously, if it came to a point, and obviously it were on TV or anything like that, I'd watch it because, as I've mentioned, no matter what league, no matter who's playing, no matter if it's men or women, I just love watching football. So
Ye-
yeah, I would
yeah.
support it 100%.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll be honest, studying sports here in India, we do highlight a lot of the problems and deficiencies in the sport for India, because as you might have known, cricket in India is big, and
I
I'm a
love
big.
cricket. I'm a cricket fan as well. I do love cricket.
Okay, so will you be following the Ashes that's starting in less than a couple of weeks? All right.
Yeah.
So do you think England's gonna win? Do you think England's gonna
Probably
win?
not. Probably not.
I mean, before Anukar sir says, and I started a football podcast, and this is not a cricket, but
I
but
swear.
on but honestly, Charlotte, thank you for being here, staying sensitive of the time, and we just wanted to reiterate how grateful we are for you to accept our proposal to be on this podcast and share your thoughts, your insights, and whatever the campaign that you are running for. And Anukar sir, I'm sure it's one of the differential episodes that we ever wanted to do ever since we began this.
Yeah, and I loved Charlotte's energy on the show also. And thank you again, Charlotte, for coming here. And again, it's a great pleasure for us for having you on the podcast. And it's one of the episodes we'll always remember for the energy, for the amount of time you took. And again, one thing I would like to point out, the how you deal with everything, the positive comments, and even how gracefully you deal with the negative comments on Twitter and all. it's great to watch. It's inspiring in its own way, and more power to you. That's all I want to wish you from me and Dwaipayan at the Indie Football Podcast.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you so much.
and the
Thank
and the
you.
hid and the hidden agenda was that if sometime her game too wants an ambassador from India, you know which guys to contact. So
Do you know
Yeah,
what? Reach out to him, because honestly, we've got a USA, we've got her game to USA, and there's stuff happening in France as well. So definitely reach out to them. I'm sure they'll
yeah,
definitely be
definitely.
interested.
This is something that we can explore, and we only recently made out a spreadsheet because we thought at the beginning when you mentioned we have got so many things to go for to going on at the same time, we could relate. But yes, thank you, Charlotte, for being here. To all our listeners, please go and check out what Her Game 2 podcast, the campaign, is doing. And till the next time, when Charlotte brings her friend who's handling the Liverpool campaign, and Anuka sir is
Yeah.
even more happier, we would probably bring in do an episode then as well. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
thank you,
Thank
Take
thank
care.
you
you.
so much.